Let's now see the assistance that VS Code gives us when working with C++. So I have VS Code opened inside an empty directory right now. The first thing we need to do, and basically the only thing we need to do in order to properly write C++ code inside VS Code, is to go to the extensions entry and search for C++. And the first result will be the C++ official extension from directly from Microsoft. It's a popular extension, has good reviews. There's also an extension pack which contains multiple extensions, the one for C++ and CMake, and the themes. I only prefer for the moment to keep things simple, so you can install this extension. I already have installed it, and now we can go to our file explorer inside VS Code, and I will create a new file. I will call this first.cpp. Alright, and let's see the assistance we get when working with C++. As soon as I will start typing, for example, I will want to include the IO stream, VS Code will directly, use IntelliSense and point me to the right directions, alright? So I will use and right here, let's create just a dumb hello world example. I will call this int main. And let's just print right here, cout. And as you can see, inside functions, we get all the IntelliSense that we need. And this is great. I love this about VS Code. Cout, and I will add an end line right here. But the great thing about VS Code is on-the-fly documentation. This is so nice, especially if you are learning a new language. All right, and return 0. And let's see, the interesting thing with this program is not how to write it, but how to run it. And observe the top right button right here inside VS Code. I will drop down this because we have two options: to run this C++ file or to debug it. Let me also show you the file system for the moment. Currently inside this folder there's only this first cpp file, but if I will select run C++ file when this file is opened, and also let me get a view inside my terminal. I will run this C++ file. I will select our GCC compiler right here. Alright, and this ended up with an error, no problem. I will try to run it again. Okay, the problem is that it's using the GCC compiler. I will delete this generated tasks.json file. I like that this problem appeared. Alright, let me clear this and start over. I will click again, run this C++ file, but this time with the G++ compiler. And as you can see, now with this other compiler, things worked just fine. As you can see, I can see the output of my program right here. Here on the left, I can also see what exactly VS Code did under the hood, and that's great. Basically, what it did in order to compile and run my program. Let's also explore what VS Code generated right here. So in order to build a C++ program, VS Code saved its configuration inside this tasks.json file. So if I will open it, this will be a JSON file which contains the options that VS Code used in order to compile our code. You saw before that we are using the G++ compiler, and with the GCC compiler things didn't work. Well, you can select your compiler if you will go to the command palette, Ctrl+Shift and P or F1. I will close this. And let's search right here for C++. And here we can search for edit configurations as JSON or edit configurations as UI. I will select as UI right here. And here you can have a nice way in which you can format or in which you can configure your C++ compiler. For example, you can select a configuration, you can add other configurations for other targets, you can select another compiler, another default compiler, maybe the G++ or the GCC, and this will be a list of the compilers you have currently installed. Let me select this GCC. And as you can see, now we have also a new entry in this .vscode folder called CPP properties, which again is a way to persist the configuration of my VS Code for C++ options. Well, we saw in this lecture how we can write a minimal C++ program and how we can configure VS Code to properly compile and run it.